Have you ever stood in your kitchen at midnight, stomach growling, and reached for that life-saving packet of instant noodles, only to wonder if what you are about to eat is anything like the legendary bowls people line up for in Tokyo? Both are hot, salty, and slurpable. Both involve wheat noodles and a comforting broth. But under the surface, they are built on different philosophies, different techniques, and different purposes. Tonight, we are going deep into the bowl to separate myth from mouthfeel and discover where these two noodle worlds meet and where they part ways. Let's start with ramen in its traditional sense, the restaurant dish that became a national obsession in Japan and a global culinary icon. Ramen is a craft. The noodles are made from wheat flour, water, and a very specific alkaline ingredient called kansui, a blend of sodium and potassium carbonates that raises the pH, strengthens gluten, and gives ramen its springy chew and yellow tint. Without that alkalinity, you do not get ramen's signature snap or that subtle mineral aroma that plays so well with rich broth. Modern kansui is carefully formulated and typically used at about 1 to 1.5% of flour weight, which is just enough to transform texture without turning the noodle bitter. Where did ramen itself come from? The dish's roots trace back to Chinese wheat noodles served in broth, introduced to Japan in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Over decades, Japan made it its own, tuning broths, refining noodle thickness, and building a culture around regional specialization. Tokyo popularized a clear soy-seasoned broth with medium noodles. Sapporo made miso-based ramen, famous with hearty aromatic bowls that can stand up to Hokkaido winters. Hakata in Fukuoka perfected the milky tonkatsu style by boiling pork bones long enough to emulsify marrow and collagen into liquid silk. Each of these styles matches a particular noodle shape and firmness to specific broths and toppings like chashu pork, marinated eggs, menma bamboo shoots, scallions, and nori. If traditional ramen is a slow symphony, instant noodles are a pop hit designed to be catchy, portable, and ready in 3 minutes. Their story begins with one inventor and a big idea. In 1958, Momofuku Ando of Nissin Foods launched chicken ramen, the first instant noodle. He had discovered that steaming fresh noodles and then flash frying them created a porous cake that rehydrated perfectly with hot water. It was a food technology breakthrough born from a post-war goal to make a hot, filling meal cheap, shelf-stable, and easy to prepare. In 1971, Ando took convenience one step further with cup noodles, packaging the noodle cake and flavorings in a container that doubles as the bowl. That changed not just how people cooked, but where they ate, from dorm rooms and office microwaves to train stations and construction sites. How are instant noodles actually made? The process is precise. Flour, salts, and water are mixed into a dough, rolled into thin sheets, and cut into wavy strands. Those strands are steamed to set their structure, then either flash fried in hot oil for a minute or two or air dried, depending on the product. Frying removes moisture quickly, leaving a honeycomb of micropores that makes the noodle rehydrate fast in boiling water. After cooling, the noodle block is packed with seasonings that can be powder, paste, or oil. When you pour in hot water, the pores suck it back in, and the noodle's cooked structure wakes up in minutes. The magic here is engineering for speed and shelf life, rather than the freshly boiled elasticity you get from restaurant noodles. Now the big question. If both bowls trace their history to similar wheat noodles, why do they feel so different to eat? Texture is the first divide. Ramen shop noodles are cut for a specific broth and cooked to the second, usually still al dente so their core retains bite. The kansui-driven alkalinity helps the strands resist getting mushy in hot broth, which is why you can linger over ramen and still enjoy a lively chew at the end of the bowl. Instant noodles, having been pre-cooked, dried, and then rehydrated, rarely achieve that same snap. They are softer and more uniform, engineered for reliability, whether you are using a kettle, a microwave, or a hot water dispenser at a convenience store. Broth is the second divide. In ramen shops, broth is a craft and a schedule. Pork bones simmer for half a day to extract gelatin and marrow for tonkotsu. Fish stocks draw on dried bonito, sardines, and kombu kelp for layered umami in styles like shoyu and shio. Miso-based broths are blended and wok-fried with aromatics in some Sapporo-inspired kitchens to create toasty complexity. This broth work can take hours or days, and it dictates toppings, noodle thickness, and even how quickly you are expected to eat. Instant noodles aim to approximate those flavors with dehydrated powders, concentrates, and flavored oils that dissolve instantly. Some premium products now include separate sachets for tear seasoning, spicy oil, or dried vegetables to create a bit more depth, but the goal remains speed and consistency, not a 10-hour extraction. Culture and context are the third divide. Ramen in Japan is a destination. People wait in line, sit at a counter, and hand over tokens for a bowl that appears with military efficiency. There are tours dedicated to regional styles, and chefs tweak salt levels by grams and noodle hydration by percentages. It is a deeply sensory experience where slurping is part of the etiquette and speed is part of the ritual. Instant noodles, meanwhile, reshaped global eating habits by democratizing hot noodle soup. They are one of the world's most accessible hot meals, eaten everywhere from Philippine jeepneys to American break rooms. In 2024 alone, the world ate over 123 billion servings of instant noodles. Vietnam leads per capita consumption at roughly 81 servings per person per year, with Korea close behind, while China and Hong Kong dominate total volume by sheer population size. That scale tells you how the instant version stepped out of ramen's shadow and became its own phenomenon. Here is a twist that surprises many noodle fans. The word ramen is not universal in meaning. In Japan, ramen can refer broadly to the noodle soup category you eat at shops, and also to instant products, but the cultural default is the fresh bowl. In South Korea, the word you are looking for is ramyeon, and it almost always means instant. Ramyeon built its own identity with assertive spice, intense seasoning, and a convenience-first culture. You will find it in convenience stores, on trains, and in homes where people crack an egg into the pot or add sliced cheese for a quick upgrade. There are few dedicated ramyeon restaurants because the product is designed for the home or workplace. Using the right word does not just avoid confusion. It points to different histories and culinary values. Let's dig into noodle science for a second because the details matter. Kansui does more than color the noodles. Its alkalinity strengthens gluten networks, which affects how the noodle resists swelling and surface erosion in hot broth. That is why ramen noodles keep their shape and why their surface gets that pleasant slickness rather than turning fuzzy or breaking. In instant noodles, the steaming step sets starches and proteins, and the frying step drives off water and creates the rehydration pores. Even air-dried versions must be engineered to hydrate uniformly, or you end up with a core that stays tough while the outside over-softens. These are two pathways to similar shapes, but they are optimized for different end goals. History also shaped flavor. After the Second World War, American wheat and Japanese innovation created the conditions for ramen to spread, and later for instant noodles to take off. Momofuku Ando's cup noodles made it possible to eat a hot meal almost anywhere with nothing more than hot water. That portability became part of pop culture and even space culture. Nissan engineered versions for low gravity and special conditions, so astronauts could slurp in orbit without broth droplets drifting across the cabin. Cup noodles museums in Japan now tell this story like a modern food tech fairy tale, honoring a product that changed how the world snacks, studies, and commutes. So which one is better? That depends on what you want from your bowl. Traditional ramen is culinary theater. You are paying for craftsmanship, stock pots, and the years a chef has spent balancing salt, fat, acidity, and umami. Every element is tuned, from noodle hydration and thickness to tear seasoning and aromatic oils that bloom on the surface of the broth. Instant noodles are a triumph of design constraints. They deliver comfort in 3 minutes without a kitchen, and they are endlessly hackable. You can crack in an egg for richness, toss in frozen vegetables for texture, add leftover roast chicken, or stir in miso paste, chili crisp, or sesame oil to push flavor closer to shop vibes. That DIY culture is not a consolation prize. It is a creative playground born from convenience. There is also a global story here about scale and access. Instant noodles became a staple across Asia, parts of Africa, and beyond, especially where incomes are tight and kitchens are small. Brands learned to adapt seasoning to local tastes, from curry and tom yum to jollof-inspired profiles. With more than 100 billion servings eaten every year, this is not a niche snack, but a backbone food for late nights, exam weeks, and lunch breaks. Per capita leaders like Vietnam and Korea show how deeply integrated these noodles are in everyday life, while the United States consistently ranks among the top 10 countries by total servings. Of course, a conversation about instant noodles is not complete without addressing health. Many instant products are high in sodium and can be low in fiber and protein if eaten by themselves. That does not make them villains, but it does suggest a strategy. If instant noodles are your base, treat them like pasta and add things. Protein helps blunt the spike and keeps you full. Vegetables add micronutrients and texture. Seasonings can be used judiciously rather than dumping in the entire packet. Meanwhile, more brands are experimenting with air-dried noodles, whole grain flours, and lower sodium sachets to meet changing consumer expectations. The point is not to shame the quick bowl, but to eat it smarter. Here is a fun angle that shows how language and branding shape our assumptions. When instant noodles first spread, they were marketed as instant ramen in Japan, borrowing the halo of the beloved restaurant dish. That name stuck. In English-speaking countries, ramen often means the 15-cent packet, while in Japan and among ramen devotees, the word signals a handcrafted bowl. In Korea, ramyun became the mainstream term for the instant style, and it grew a culture of specialty flavors and limited editions that fly off shelves the way new sneakers do. Even airlines have to consider noodle culture. One major Korean carrier recently stopped serving cup ramyun in economy because turbulence can spill scalding broth, a very 21st century collision of convenience, safety, and climate challenges. So what are you really choosing between when you pick ramen or instant noodles? You are choosing between time and technique, between bespoke and standardized, between a broth that took a day to become itself and a packet that travels in your backpack. Both have a place. One scratches a culinary itch for depth and nuance. The other answers a practical need for speed and comfort. And in the space between, there is a lot of fun to be had. If you want to push instant noodles toward ramen, start with better stock. Warm chicken stock or dashi instead of plain water, then add only half the seasoning packet and finish with a drizzle of aromatic oil. If you want to appreciate ramen more deeply, pay attention to how noodle curl, thickness, and firmness match the broth. Try a miso bowl in winter and a clear shio in summer. Notice how fast you eat and how the noodles are meant to peak in texture at minute 2 or 3. There is also innovation happening on both sides. Ramen shops keep fusing traditions, from coffee-infused broth to pineapple experiments, while chefs spotlight heritage techniques like niboshi fish stocks and ultra-light asari styles. Instant noodle makers experiment with air-dried bricks that hydrate nearly as fast as fried ones, and with separate sachets for tear, oil, and spice to layer flavor more like a shop. Marketing evolves too. Today's top noodle markets are not only in East Asia. Mexico has one of the highest proportions of cup-style instant noodles compared to bag-style, a reminder that convenience culture crosses language, cuisine, and border. If you care about sustainability and food waste, there is nuance here as well. Ramen shops are resource-intensive, from long simmering stock to imported wheat and pork. Instant noodles are energy-intensive to manufacture and package, but their shelf life prevents spoilage that might otherwise go to waste. Some companies are exploring plant-based broths and recyclable cups, and small craft producers are making premium instant kits that blur the line between packet and restaurant with air-dried noodles and chilled broths you pour and heat. Let's pull back and answer the title question with clarity. What is the real difference between ramen and instant noodles? Ramen is a category of fresh prepared noodle soups defined by alkaline noodles and broths built from bones, fish, vegetables, and carefully balanced seasonings. It is an experience shaped by time, place, and technique. Instant noodles are a food technology derived from that tradition. They are pre-cooked, dried noodle cakes designed to rehydrate quickly, paired with seasonings that simulate complex broth in minutes. The two share ancestry but live in different ecosystems. One is a craft. The other is a convenience. They overlap, they influence each other, and they both have loyal fans for good reasons. So the next time you slurp a 3-minute cup at your desk, You are eating a marvel of engineering that grew from a century of noodle culture. And when you sit down at a small counter and watch steam rise from a bowl that a chef tuned like an instrument, you are tasting the patient heart of ramen. Both are worthy. Both are comfort. Both tell a story about how we live, how we eat, and how innovation and tradition keep tugging each other forward. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the noodle universe, keep exploring with us. We uncover the surprising stories behind everyday things. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a chapter. And in the comments, tell us your ultimate instant noodle upgrade or your favorite regional ramen. We might try it in a future episode.